And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata. And as promised, I am going to be previewing the brand new Women's Elite Rugby League, WER, who are doing their very first inaugural season here in 2025. It will kick off on the weekend of March 22nd and 23rd. So, just in a short bit, we will have the very first fully, and I'll explain in just a little bit about this, the first fully professional women's rugby league here in the United States. A very exciting time to be a rugby fan, to be a rugby player in the United States as well. Not only are we going to be hosting the men's and women's Rugby World Cups in 2031 and 2033 respectively, Major League Rugby, regardless of maybe what you might feel, is expanding, is getting bigger. Attendances are increasing. They're going to be on. They are on ESPN Plus now. Women's Elite Rugby is the next big step for women's rugby here in the United States, and I'm super excited for it because again, everybody everybody benefits from this. Not only the players, because it gives women in America a great chance to play the sport that they love, to represent their country, and they get paid, for it as well. And also too, it just gives fans of rugby, men, women, children, a great product to watch. Now, I'll admit, right now as it is, WER has not let us know how exactly these games are going to be televised, if they'll be televised. I strongly believe it'll probably be on the Rugby Network, which is great because that's absolutely free. It's exactly how Major League Rugby was displaying their games for the last couple of seasons post COVID. So, hey, anything that's free and easily accessible to fans here in the United States and around the world. I'm all for it. So again, not official yet, but I'm pretty sure because a couple of games of the prior women's semi-pro promotion, Women's Premier League Rugby, was on the Rugby Network. So let's get into that now. So before WER, there was the Women's Premier League Rugby, which was a semi-pro women's league here in the United States that's been around since 2009. It's understandable if maybe you've never heard of them before. Again, semi-pro, they've struggled quite a bit. They actually had quite a few teams at one point. Last of the season last year, they were down to 7 teams, including Beantown RFC, Life West Gladiatrix, the three-time WPLR champions, the Berkeley All Blues, as well as the 3-time WPLR champions, the New York Rugby Club, the Chicago North Shore, the Twin City Amazons, who also won the WPLR championship once, and then your reigning defending 2-time back-to-back WPLR champions, the Colorado Grey Wolves. So 7 teams. Now, from there, the league has now turned into WER, Women's Elite Rugby, which is now fully pro. And from those 7 teams, we now have 6 teams that have been fully rebranded, which I gotta say, if anything, the rebranding of these teams, they look phenomenal. The logos alone, good lord, the branding is spot on. So definitely kudos to whoever is doing the branding for WER because it is amazing. Kind of wishing some of the teams in Major League Rugby kind of get onto whoever was that designed the logos and the team crests for these teams because they are pretty impressive looking. Of the 7 teams, 2 of them merged together. So the California teams, the Life West Gladiatrix and the Berkeley All Blues, have pretty much merged into one team. So basically all the teams from the WPLR are now in Women's Elite Rugby. They're just now rebranded and maybe playing in different venues, but definitely a fresh new start for what is going to be a very, very exciting league. Now, full disclosure, I'm not as familiar with women's rugby as I am with men's rugby in the United States and around the world. I have PA'd a couple of USA Women's Eagles games, And of course, I've watched a lot of women's USA Eagles games, but not as much as men's games. So I'm familiar with a good majority of the names, but not everybody. I have not watched a WPLR game in my life. So a lot of this is going to be brand new. But I guarantee you, when I'm into something, I am 1,000% invested into it. As you know, with Major League Rugby, I've watched every game of Major League Rugby since I started becoming a YouTuber of Major League Rugby. I've watched every game. I haven't missed one. I will do the same with WER, as long, of course, as there's somewhere that I can watch it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the Rugby Network, and I will be 100% invested into it to give you guys as much information as I can about these teams. With that being said, I'm doing my traditional way too early power rankings of these teams with going on of very little information that I've been able to find, very little information that I know, purely also off of name recognition and just kind of what I would consider maybe common sense, and I'll get into it more when I start talking about the teams. So, take it with a very grain of salt, just like anything with my way too early. As you guys notice if you watched any of my Major League Rugby way too early predictions, I'm usually way off of those because they're just a fun little thing about what I think maybe might happen in the season. But there's no basis for it. So there's no basis for this. I could be well off. I probably will be well off. But I have done a lot of homework as much as I can, and I'll provide all that information for you. But as soon as I start watching these games, I feel I'll have a lot more information and understanding, and I'll be able to provide you with as much coverage of it as I do with Major League Rugby. That I can promise you. This is a channel's purpose. The purpose of this channel was to provide all the information that I can about rugby in the United States, regardless of men, women, 7s, 15s, I'm giving you it all. 10s, I'm giving to you all. College, pros, kids, I'm giving it to you all. So women's is going to be no different with the WER, and it's going to start now. So just again, right now, not the most 100% information or knowledge about it, but as I start watching more games, I will give you everything I got, and I will be a truly invested fan, just like I am with Major League Rugby. So, with that being said, let's talk about my way too early power rankings, and there's 6 teams, so obviously we have to have one team that's going to be on the bottom, and that is, and again, these logos and brands are amazing. I'm going to introduce to you the Twin City Geminis. Look at that. That is impressive with the double snakes, the twin snakes. So the Twin City Geminis, if you're not familiar, Twin Cities is the nickname of Minnesota, and so that is where they're based out of. Originally, it was the Twin City Amazons back in the Women's Premier League Rugby. They are going to be playing out of TCO Stadium in Eagan, Minnesota, which is holds about 6,000 people, 6,000 fans. It is on the Minnesota Vikings, the pro NFL team's practice facility. So that's really cool. They basically have access to at least a state-of-the-art venue, hopefully similar to how the RFCLA team does practice with the LA Galaxy facility, so that gives them access to what the LA Galaxy have. I'm hoping that allows the TC Geminis to work with the Minnesota Vikings facility, which, you know, if it's an NFL team, you know that's state-of-the-art stuff, so that's really cool for the TC Gemini. Now, going on to the team, all this information you can find on their Instagram, TC Gemini WER on Instagram. All this information is there. That's another thing. WER has done some amazing stuff in providing as much information as they can on their social media, so give them a follow if you can. Their head coach, Sylvian Britton, the former U.S. Eagles performance and recovery coach for the women's team. She was also the Harvard University women's rugby head coach. In 2019-2023, they were national champions that she led them to. She also led them to a 7s collegiate championship as well. She was also the Twin City Amazons athlete and coach, so she was a former player. And she also is a former USA Eagles. She played in the 2014 and the 2017 Rugby World Cup. What's really cool about the coaching staff, For the women coaches in the WER, all of them are former Eagles with Rugby World Cup experience. So a lot of experience for these teams. Now, what the WER has done is that each team has provided what they call their foundational five. Now, these five members of the team are ones that they feel embody the spirit of not only their team but rugby as well. So they are what they would consider their cornerstone players in the group. And so I'm going to be showcasing the foundational fives of each team as well. So let's start with the Twin City Geminis. First one, Tatiana Reed. She is the fly half from University of Northern Iowa. She is a former Twin City Amazons player. Emerson Allen from Gold Valley, Minnesota, so a local girl. She plays lock and flanker. She's from She graduated from Eckerd College and Life University. Life University, a huge powerhouse in the rugby college circuit. She is a capped eagle, and as well as she was part of the Rhinos program, which is located out here in Southern California, San Clemente. Abby Jacobs, she is a lock or a number 8 position, graduated from the University of Wisconsin, also a former Twin Cities Amazons player. Risa Hall from College Grove, Minnesota, another local Minnesota player. Lock flanker position from Lindenwood University, another top-notch college rugby university. Former Minnesota Sevens player, and she played a little bit in rugby league, which, if you're not too familiar with the codes of rugby, there are different rule sets of rugby, two in particular, rugby union and rugby league. Ironically enough, Major League Rugby follows the rugby union rules, while rugby league is a completely different rule. Well, not completely different, but it is a different rule set. Players do kind of jump over every so often, but most fans tend to follow one or the other. There are some fans that like both, but anyways. And then the last one, Trina Nunez, flanker in number 8 position from the University of North Dakota, also a former Twin City Amazon player. A lot of the players on the roster were former Twin City Amazon player that now transitioned to the newly branded Twin City Geminis. Looking at their full roster, I'm not going to go over all the players because it's a lot, but I do want to point out some of the capped Eagles. Olivia Leatherman is a newly capped Eagle, 5 caps under her belt. She is a prop. Her sister is also on the team, Lucy Leatherman, who is not a capped Eagle, but interestingly enough, I didn't know about Lucy Leatherman. I have seen Olivia Leatherman play, so that is the roster. Now, they're number 6 because last season, the Twin City Geminis finished the season 0-12 at the very bottom of the rankings. You know, I feel that from the way that the rosters look, there's a lot of carryover from last season, and I don't think too much has changed from the Twin City Geminis. So maybe they'll win a game or two, but I kind of feel if they were 0-12 last season, I don't think too much has changed to change that. So for right now, they are sitting at the number 6 position. At number 5 is your Chicago Tempest. And again, the branding is just so cool. I'm pulling up the logo right now, but the branding is so cool. These logos are really, really awesome. So, Chicago Tempest, based obviously in Chicago. They're going to be playing out of Martin Stadium, which is located on the campus of Northwestern University. Easily the biggest stadium for the WER teams. Northwestern University, a Division I college football program, holds 15,000 fans in their stadium. It is a football, a soccer, a lacrosse stadium, recently renovated as well. If you've seen pictures of it, I'll put up the photo here, but I don't think it does it justice. It's located right next to Lake Michigan. It looks wow. Like, I feel Utah Zion Stadium, where the Utah Warriors play, looks like the most beautiful stadium for rugby, for any sport, because you have the mountains right behind it in its view. The fact that the Lake Michigan is right there, it looks phenomenal. Like, I would love to visit Northwestern University to catch a Tempest game, or even a college football game for that matter. Chicago Tempest obviously were the former Chicago North Shore team. Their head coach is Brian Colbridge, who is a former, we mentioned this before, League Rugby Chicago coach. So again, the league Chicago team. He was their former coach, as well as the North Shore's defensive coach before now being the head coach of the Chicago Tempest. He was the Memphis women's sevens head coach as well. 2 undefeated seasons with the Memphis sevens women's team, and a former British rugby player himself. For the Foundation 5 for the Tempest, we have Sienna Jordan, a winger and fullback, graduated from the University College London. She was a Chicago North Shore player, and from what I see, the only capped Eagle on this team. She also played for the Pittsburgh Steel Toes, which is the Premier Sevens team. You're going to notice that a lot of these women's players also have played in sevens, and particularly in the Premiership Sevens, the only professional sevens league in the United States, which I'm hoping they're going to come back. I hear they're coming back this season. I think they have a phenomenal product. I'm hoping that grows more and more, especially with, we're talking about the popularity of women's rugby rising. You can't go any further than just the popularity of women's sevens, after the Olympics. So hopefully, we'll see a lot more interest in women's everything with rugby involved. Emma Farnon, scrum half and winger, graduated from the University of Notre Dame, also a Chicago North Shore player and a Southern Headliners player, another Premier Sevens team. Katie Sanford, prop flanker lock, graduate of the University of Michigan, Chicago North Shore player. Betty Nguyen, scrum half, winger, a local Chicago girl and a Chicago North Shore player. And then Annabelle Diaz, prop from Chicago, Illinois, Chicago North Shore player, and a capped Mexican national rugby player for the women's Mexican team. She's actually one of 2, I believe, in the league. So, very similar to the Gemini team. The reason why Chicago is ranked so low, last season they were 2-10, 6 out of 7 teams, so right ahead of Gemini. So that means right ahead of them in the power rankings. Moving on to number 4, the Boston Banshees. Again, love these logos. The branding is just phenomenal. So, the Boston Banshees, formerly Beantown Rugby Football Club, they're going to be playing in the Veterans Memorial Stadium, which is also home to the New England Free Jacks. That is a 5,000-seater stadium. Though the last 3 games of the season for the Boston Banshees, they're going to be playing at Tidewater Landing in Bridgeview. That is located in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Seats about 10,500. Is a newly built stadium, which is also home to the Rhode Island Football Club soccer team. So kind of an upgrade technically for them. It's twice as big as Veterans Memorial Stadium. So that's kind of huge for the fledgling Boston Banshee team. Their head coach, Kittery Ruiz, former under-20s assistant coach for the Women's Eagles program. She is also the former Beantown Rugby Football Club head coach, so now just moving over to the Banshees. She took the team to the semifinals in 2023, just losing out in the championship. She was also the Women's Premier League commissioner at one time, and she also is a former Eagles player, played in the 2010 and 2014's Women's Rugby World Cup. Foundation 5 for them, Q Okine, prop lock, Harvard University graduate, Beantown Rugby Football Club player, as well as a former Glendale Merlins player. That was the team that eventually became the Colorado Grey Wolves. Emily Henrik is a capped Eagle, a very, very talented center and winger from Dartmouth University, another big college rugby powerhouse. Also was on the Beantown Rugby Football Club team and the Leicester Tigers, which is the women's Premier League in Britain, which a lot of these women, a lot of the U.S. women's players, because there was no fully professional women's league here in the United States, a lot of them went to Europe to play in the British Premier League's women's league, which coincides with the men's Premier League. So you'll see a lot of those players now moving back to America because now there's a place to play, which again is great. It allows us to keep a lot of the local talent, and again, just like what we're trying to do with Major League Rugby, help develop future women's USA National Eagles players. So this is going to be great for everybody in all of USA Rugby. Moving on, another talented capped eagle, Pace Cephalips, hooker from Boston University, a local girl, also from Beantown RFC. Cassie Bargel, another capped eagle, number 8 position, Harvard University graduate, Beantown RFC. She was just capped last year during the USA Eagles participation in the WXV competition, which I'm excited for that coming back around this coming season. And then Yeja Dunn, number 8 and a hooker from Dartmouth University, Beantown RFC, also part of the Rhinos rugby program. Again, reason why I put them number 4, because last season they were 5-7, finished 5th, so 5, 6, 7. Your bottom 3 teams, I feel again will probably be the same bottom 3 teams in the league, just purely based on just kind of the facts that I have and the logic that's there. Now, with the top 3 teams, this one I'll admit it can go either way. You might feel like I'm just going to put whoever won the championship last season as the number 1 team, and spoiler alert, I did, but I can easily see any of these 3 teams kind of flip-flopping. I'll be honest, I don't think these 3 teams will move up into the top 3, but there's a possibility. Anything can happen. But I'm pretty confident that these 3 teams, there will be some sort of iteration of them here. These 3, I feel, it's, no offense to Gemini and Tempest, but I feel they're kind of solidly going to sit here. But the other 3, yeah, I can see any of them end up being in the number 1 spot at the end of the season. So we'll see. And starting with the number 3 one, the Bay Breakers, which is the California team. Now, the Bay Breakers are technically a amalgamation of the 2 California teams, the Life West Gladiatrix and your 3-time Berkeley All Blue, 3-time champions, the Berkeley All Blues. They will be playing at the Great Bowl Stadium, which is located in Lodi, California, which is Northern California, 5,000-seater. Their head coach is Hannah Stolba, who was the Berkeley All Blues coach back when they won their last championship in 2022. She also played for the Glendale Merlins, which I mentioned before was a team in the Women's Premier League that now turned into the Colorado Grey Wolves. She also played in 2 Women's Rugby World Cups as a USA Eagles player in 2010 and 2014. The foundational 5 we have here. First one, Olivia Bernadelle Huey, a fullback and fly half from Stanford University. She is a former All Blues player, as well as the Golden State Retrievers, which is the Premier Sevens team. Roxelle Thomas, lock flanker number 8, graduate of St. Mary's College, which is, again, another huge rugby powerhouse from California. Formerly of the Life West Gladiatrix, is now, merged with the Bay Breakers. Elena Edwards, prop lock, Bowling Green State University, All Blues, was on the 2022 All Blues Championship team. Celine Lulamaga, prop hooker, Washington University, a Seattle Rugby Club, and a Eagles under-23 player. And Jade Alexandria McGrath, center. She is a Canadian player from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Boston College graduate, All Blues, and played for the DC Furies, another team that was once in the Women's Premier League Rugby, as well as the Rocky Mountain Experts from the Premier Sevens team. On their roster, they have quite a few Eagles on the team. Catherine Treader, 25 caps hooker, Taina Tukuafu, 12 caps scrum half. The very talented Alev Kelter, 26 caps center. She could easily be a game winner for any team. Bulu Matayatoga, 21 caps, a utility back. And then Mona Lisa Tupua, a prop, is also a capped eagle as well. The Berkeley All Blues, more than the Life West Gladiatrix, finished the season as the number 1 team, 10-2. But surprisingly, when you look at the roster, not a lot of Berkeley All Blues came back. A lot of them were the Life West Gladiatrix, And so because of that, I kind of have them in the number 3 position. Again, they can easily move into 1 or 2. Alev Kelter is definitely an interesting player to watch out for, and they have a lot of talented Eagles, so a lot of veteran players on this roster. I can see them easily maybe fighting for that number 1 spot, but right now, just because also we haven't talked about the top 2 teams, I think the Bay Breakers are definitely going to be fighting for that spot, and they might be the ones that are going to be pushed back just a little bit. Moving on to our number 2 team, the New York Exiles. Having them sit at the number 2 spot. And the New York Exiles are playing at the stadium at Memorial Field, which holds about 4,000 fans. If that name is familiar, that's where Rugby New York played back in 2023. Their coach is Diego Maquiera, who it was the New York Rugby Club's head coach, and back in the and got the team to the 2024 semifinals, though losing to the eventual winners, the Colorado Grey Wolves. He is the former under-23 men's sevens assistant coach. He also is a former player in Major League Rugby, played a couple of matches for the New York Ironworkers, as well as was a starter for the Houston SaberCats. So this is his first time. This is his venture back into coaching for the women's coaching side. Foundational 5, Adriana Castillo, flanker number 8 from Marist College, formerly of the New York Rugby Club. She is a Cap Dominican Republic national rugby women's player, which is pretty cool to see. Jen Solomon Clayton, fly half, our center, local girl from New York, graduated from Quinnipiac University, former New York Rugby Club player, and is the other Cap Mexican women's rugby player. She also played for the Southern Headliners in the PR7's team. Matilda Koshak, winger center, New York local, graduated from Babson College and Life University, New York Rugby Club, also played for the SoCal Loggerheads, the PR7's team. Conjeta Owens, fly half, fullback, Virginia Tech graduate, New York Rugby Club, also played for the New York Locals Premier Sevens team. As they're telling you, a lot of these girls played in sevens. And then last, Mish Green Yachts, flank locker, another local girl, New Rochelle, New York, from the State University, New York, Binghamton, and State University, New York, Plattsburgh University graduate, New York Rugby Club. Looking at their roster, the name that really pops out for me is Tess Fury, another phenomenal Cap USA Eagles player, 28 caps under her belt. New York Rugby Club finished second in the league last season. I'm sorry, third in the league last season. Again, made it to the semifinals, losing to Colorado before they jumped to the championship game. So again, I feel New York will probably be a team to beat. May have a little bit more of the carryover talent compared to the Bay Breakers, which is why I have them at number 2. But ultimately, and again, just based off of the knowledge that I have, the number 1 team is going to be the Colorado Onyx. I love this logo too. And they were the former reigning, defending two-time Women's Premier League champions, the Colorado Grey Wolves, who are now the Denver Onyx. So yeah, that's really the reason why they're number 1. But they do have a solid team. They're playing in Infinity Park, which if you haven't seen is another just beautiful rugby pitch. It is the very first rugby pitch that was specifically made for rugby here in the United States. Second one is the Houston Stadium where the SaberCats play. It is the home to USA Rugby headquarters. It is where the Glendale Raptors used to play back when they were around. It's also where one of the biggest sevens tournaments in the United States is held at the Rugby Town Sevens. Beautiful stadium. So Denver Onyx will be playing there. Their head coach, Sarah Chobot, USA Eagles assistant coach and forwards and defensive coach. She's also the very first female coach in the Super Rugby Americas League, back when the Glendale Raptors were playing there because she was coaching the Raptors. She also is a former USA Eagles player herself and played in the 2014 Rugby World Cup. Now, their roster just stacked with Eagles talent. The Foundation 5 first, Erica Kolobeli, winger, fullback, graduate of the University of Iowa, former Colorado Grey Wolves. Taina Wilfier, winger, fullback, from Denver, Colorado. She is one of the youngest players in the league at only 17 years old, Colorado Grey Wolf. Maya Learned, a U.S. capped USA Eagle, prop lock, from Denver, Colorado, a local Harvard University graduate. She played for the Grey Wolves, as well as Gloucester Hartpury, the women's premier team in Europe. Mackenzie Hawkins, fly half fullback from Lindenwood University, Colorado Grey Wolves, capped USA Eagles. She also played for the Life West Gladiatrix a couple seasons ago. Very popular Rachel Arecki, flanker lock. She was the captain of the team last season when they won the championship. Penn State graduate, and a capped USA Eagles. And then if you look at the roster, Eagles all over the place. Talia Brody, 12 caps, plays lock and flanker. Rachel Johnson, 29 caps, one of the more current veteran players on the roster. She's actually coming back from Europe, where she was part of the Women's Premiership Championship team, the Exeter Chiefs. Haley Taofu, 19 caps under her belt, lock. KB Slaughter, she is a former WPL National MVP player, and also the first female Life University Hall of Famer. So, a great accolade for KB Slaughter. Carly Walters, 23 caps, scrum half, Colorado Grey Wolves, and Tessa Ham, who has 1 cap on her belt as an Eagle. So, again, just based purely off of what I know on paper and the names that I see, I really do feel that the Denver Onyx are set and primed to possibly make their run to become the very first WER champions. But, New York and the Bay Breakers, I feel, could provide quite a bit of competition as well. But it's rugby, so you never know. Tempest, Gemini. I think maybe the Banshees have a good shot at getting into the top 3, but you never know. You never know. But I do feel pretty confident that Denver, I'd be kind of shocked if Denver's not at least in the championship game for WER. But that's pretty much it. Again, this is just a start. I'm super, super excited about this. I really hope that the games will be aired on the Rugby Network. Again, hasn't been official yet, but as soon as it is, of course, I'll let you know. But I do urge you guys, if you are a rugby fan, if you are a USA Rugby fan, highly, highly recommend you guys at least give all of these teams a follow on their Instagram accounts. Give WER a follow on their account. It's Rugby Evolved. I know that seems a little bit off from Women's Elite Rugby, but that's it. Rugby Evolved is their Instagram account. Give them a follow. Watch the games if you can once they figure out where they are, and I will be providing as much coverage as I can of it, just like I do with Major League Rugby. It does add more games for me to watch in a week, but hey, I love rugby, and more rugby for me is always the better. So again, I'm very, very excited about this. Like I said, the season kicks off March 22nd and 23rd. On the 22nd, we have, there's only going to be 2 games, 1 game each day for the very first week. March 22nd, we have the Banshees going over to New York to take on the Exiles. And then on the 23rd, we have the Geminis going over to Chicago to take on the Tempest. So, again, some exciting stuff. I will, of course, be reviewing those games. I know it's only going to be 4 teams, so not a lot of movement in the power rankings, but there will be some. So, definitely stick out to watch for that. So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed this preview of the newly created WER. Again, I'm super excited by it. Thank you very much for checking out my video, and I'll see you on the pitch.